A story exclusive with the attorney whose parents are now suing over the deadly school shooting in Michigan. Their 17-year-old daughter was shot in the neck. She is expected to recover. Her 14-year-old sister was next to her at the time, and they were also with 14-year-old Hannah St. Juliana, whose funeral was yesterday. She was killed in this horrific shooting. So their lawyer of the two girls says that other parents had warned the principal about this suspect, 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley, 2 weeks before the shooting, saying that he posted threats on social media that parents were aware of, students were aware of, and that made one student afraid to even go to school. We reached out to the school about this, the district, for a response, but we have not heard back for their response to this lawsuit. Attorney Geoffrey Fieger joins me now. You may remember he represented Dr. Jack Kevorkian. He's done a number of famous cases over the last several decades. Geoffrey, good to have you with us. Tell us, briefly, just give everybody a look at what happened to these two sisters who you're representing.
Sure, but unfortunately, I might add, I represented two of the victims of the Columbine shooting too, and it's horrific and ironic. That's that right. Now, 20 years later, we are simply going through it over and over and over again. Two sisters, they're honor students. Riley was accepted to 6 colleges. She should have been planning her Christmas vacation and choosing one of the 6 who accepted her, and instead she's just gotten out of the hospital now after narrowly surviving gunshot wound to her neck. Less than 2% of children who suffer that kind of wound survive. Miraculously, it hit nothing major, and she's at home now for next weeks recovering. Her sister is traumatized beyond belief. You can imagine they stepped out of a bathroom and they were shot down. The sister avoided the gunshots, but she's as traumatized as you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I can believe it. I want to play for you this soundbite from Timothy Thorne, who's one of the named defendants that your suit goes after. Here's what he said on Thursday, December 3rd.
There's been a lot of talk about the student that was apprehended, that he was, called up to the office and all that kind of stuff. No discipline was warranted.
Do you agree with that? That
no
discipline was warranted based on what you know and what you've seen?
No, of course not. It was recognized that he was drawing photographs of mayhem. They were aware of posts on the internet indicating that he was intending to commit mayhem. He drew pictures indicating that he was going to engage in a murderous rage. He said, Oxford High, here I come. And he had a gun and ammunition in his backpack. They recognized it enough where they pulled him out of class. Instead of calling the police liaison officer, they called his parents. They told his parents to take him out of school. The parents refused, so they said, okay, he can stay here and go to class. Well, he simply went into the bathroom, loaded the 30 rounds of ammunition into his newly presented gun given to him by his parents, and began slaughtering students. So there's certainly responsibility here, and it's time we stop giving lip service to all of this and we hold people responsible. If we're not going to hold the Second Amendment people responsible for gunning down our students over the last 20 years and we're going to do nothing in that regard, then let's hold the other people responsible. So it's very painful to allow this type of slaughters to continue to happen.
Well, it really comes down to the question of evidence in terms of what the school had. We know that the night before the shooting, Ethan Crumbley tweeted, now I am become death, the destroyer of the world. See you tomorrow, Oxford. This was on his open Twitter account, and that was after he was already disciplined. So that was a public thing. But the problem is something that you just touched on, and then I want to ask you about the responsibility of the school and how suable the school really is for this. This is what Sheriff Bouchard told me when I asked him, why didn't the school contact you? Because wouldn't that have been the right thing to do? Watch this. What would you say to the school about when they should have contacted your department?
Well, as soon as behavior is described or considered troubling, by the school teachers, the administrators, bring us into that consult. It triggers a whole series of protocols that we do, sadly, almost every day, but didn't have an opportunity to do that day.
So they didn't have an opportunity to do their job because they weren't told by the school. So you have to prove that the school was grossly negligent or that they showed reckless disregard. Tell me how you're going to do that exactly.
Or that they created a danger because they're state employees, and that's the allegation of the federal court case. And I'm not under no grand illusions. The powers that be in the state of Michigan, as in many other states, give lip service to what a tragedy this is and how we have to prevent it. And then they insulate governmental employees from any liability for making these type of tragic, negligent mistakes. But in this case, when it was so obvious and the school officials were so aware of something that a normal person, a reasonable person would consider a threat, and having had him brought down to the principal's office, the counselor's office, recognizing a threat was made, seeing cartoons indicating a mass slaughter, calling the parents and saying he should be removed and he has to have counseling, but not calling the school liaison officer, which Mike Bouchard just indicated to you could and should have been done, was a tragic mistake. Instead, they let him go into a bathroom. He loaded up for war, and he came out shooting. And he killed 4, injured 8, and he traumatized that school forever. And that's only one in the last 300 shootings we've had in the last 20 years since Columbine.
Yeah. I mean, there should be some expectation of common sense on the part of these school administrators that when they see something like that, and we've seen them jump the gun in a knee-jerk way, so to speak, over much more small transgressions than a kid who's buying ammo on his phone in class and then is drawing pictures and saying essentially that he wants to shoot up the school. And, you know, to cave to the parents because they say, we don't want him to be brought home. Is also, I think, just a huge question in this case. Geoffrey Fieger, you know, the trauma to the parents as well. I mean, their children were so lucky to survive this, and I can't imagine what it's like for these parents either. Thank you, Geoffrey. Good to have you here. We'll follow it with interest. Thank you, sir.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.